Good morning students, myself Dr. Shirisha, Associate Professor from CSE Department, MLR Institute of Technology. In this session, I wanted to tell you how to use a configuration file or how to write a configuration file for the STRUTS when you are using a server-side programming. In this session, I wanted to tell you STRUTS configuration file. So, whenever a client is sending a request to the server, so this is the request and server is sending the responses back to the client. So in this case, what is happening? You need to send this client request to intermediate things, right? So you may have JSP container, you may use servlet container. So in such cases where you are using this server side programming, you need to write a configuration files. This configuration files is very major important thing where it binds everything. What it is binding, whatever the input you are giving and what it is sending to the server. Here, we'll see what the configured with the help of few important configuration files. So, we have web.xml. This web.xml will be given in the servlets. STRUTS. STRUTS will be using the struts.xml and in STRUTS we have STRUTS configuration file and also STRUTS properties. All these will bind the components because what are the components that it is binding? You are giving HTML, that means what? View. In MVC, we have view, this is V and one more is model. For modeling, you have business logic, model and controller. So, these three are different programs. Model you are giving .java, .jsp, .servlet. So, these type of programs we will write. And for HTML, .html files you will have. For controlling, you will be having these files. So, .web.xml, struts, etc. Then what happens? These XML files, this JSP files, this HTML files all together you have to bind somewhere. This information should be known by these two. This information should be known by these two, servlet and HTML. Similarly, servlet should know where is your view part and where is the controller part. So, it has to be binded. So, who is binding? These configuration files will bind everything. So, that is the use of configuration. So, start configuration files. First, we discuss about web.xml. Web.xml is a configuration file. 100%. That's a J2W configuration file. How elements of HTTP request are processed by servlet container. So, you have a HTTP request. It is just sent to servlet container. Okay. So, this request is processed to servlet container. So, in this case, what is required? Your web.xml is required. In web.xml, what we will do? We will give the name of, say, class name. Okay. You will give the whatever the name of the class you are giving, that you have to give. URL mapping will be there. So, what does this URL mapping will be having? This is a tag. So, you have a closing tag for that. This URL mapping gives the path. Means what? Wherever your servlet program is, that path you are going to give it here. So, what happens when this web.xml container, your container is calling web.xml, it will use the controller to use this path and telling that controller that this is the destination file. So, that is the use of this HTTP request and web.xml configuration file. It is not strictly a strat2 configuration file, but it is a file that needs to be configured for strat2 to work. So, this is actually we use in servlets also, but the same we are using for struts also. It's a configuration. Then, as discussed earlier, this file provides an entry point for web application. Obviously, then entry point of struts2 application will be filtered in the deployment descriptor. Web.xml is also known as deployment descriptor. That means what? Whatever the URL names you are giving or the class names you are giving here, you will be executing the program in the local host, right, Apache Tomcat server where you run your program. While running your program, this web.xml will deploy the project. Suppose your project app or application name is app1. If you select this app1, suppose displaying a hello world. So if you select this and start your server, then this web.xml will help you to print the output. So what is the output? Hello world. Clear? Then the entry point of struts2 filter defined in the deployment descriptor, hence will define an entry of filter dispatcher. Filter dispatcher is used for deploying. Web.xml needs to be created under the folder web content web-inf. So I told you in web apps, you will be having different folder. You have to create classes folder, library folder, then one more is web-inf folder. So this web-inf has to be given in capital letter only. So this web-inf will be having this web.xml file. So web-inf will be having what? Web.xml. This is what acting as a deployment descriptor. Okay. Now, this is the first configuration file. You need to first configure whether you can use the Eclipse or Maven 2 to generate this. Then, this is the file. So, here if you see, we are starting as this is web.xml. So, XML file will start with what? This is the delimiter. Less than question mark greater than. So, in between that you have to give. So, web app is where we are giving. So, I told you the hierarchy. What is the hierarchy? Web app. Under this you have these folders like web-inf. In this you have web.xml. So, this hierarchy you know. So, what is a root node here? Web app. So, that web app is a root node that we are giving. Tag name that we are giving. Root tag. For this, these are all what? Attributes that we have given for namespaces, giving the namespaces or defining the namespace. Then, what particularly we need to see here is, it is acting as a deployment descriptor. For deployment descriptor, we need to give the name of the application. So, strut2, and this is the welcome file list and welcome file. This is the root tag of welcome file. This is the child tag. Here we are giving what? Your JSP. So, what is this? This is the model in MVC. So, that MVC model is defined here in index.jsp. Filter. Filter name is what? Again, strut2. Whatever the display name you are giving, the same name we are giving the filter name. So, filter class. What is the class that we need? Filter dispatcher to deploy. So, that we are giving here. Okay. And filter mapping, again the name we are giving the same name of the class, and this is the URL pattern. URL pattern means wherever you are storing your application, the strut2 we have given, that application path you need to given here. So, slash star means what? Star is that one. So, this is a web app. So, note that the map strut2 slash star dot action, which means that all the URLs. So, all the URLs we are talking, but when it comes to the application, we need to give a specific path of which application you wanted to deploy. That is about the web.xml. Coming to struts.xml, it contains the configuration information modifying as actions that are developed. Okay, so here for example, struts.div mode, which is false. Strat.div mode is false, and other settings are also given in the property file. So, this file can be created under where? Web.inf classes folder. So, how to write the struts XML file? Struts.xml. So, here we have struts folder will be there. So, inside that we will put this XML file .xml strut.xml file. So, here this is strut, constant, package and action. Okay, constant, this is the name we are going to give with the mode. So, in this mode if you wanted to open, we are making it as true, and the package name we are giving just hello world. So, this is just default. Extends means you are just giving the struts default to use. If you wanted to give any specific property to extend, then we will give that. Normally we will give default. Action name hello. Okay, this action is what we have. Action form, action mapping also. So, So when you are doing these two to send the request and to get a response, then this action name will be taken from this. Okay. Then class. So you can take the class name, whatever you have defined. Then method is execute. Result is a tag where you are showing your output. So my output should be that logic. That means that model is written in this hello world.jsp. So that program name, that name you have to give it here. Okay, like that. Similarly, whatever the actions you wanted to define, you can define multiple actions here. Similarly, multiple packages also you can define in between this package tags. Okay, packages tags. So package is a root tag and action is the sub tag of your root tag. So action will be written inside the root. So multiple actions can be written and multiple packages also can be written. This is also star. Okay, and you are writing struts.xml. So what is the root tag? Struts. So where you are closing the strut tag. So this is about all the strut configurations need to have correct doc type. So first thing to note is a doc type. Okay, struts is a root tag element, so that's a root tag we have to give. Then different packages using a package. Inside the package we are going to give the action. So what package will do? It allows the separation of the configuration and modularization of the configuration, and this is very useful for large projects. Obviously struts we are not going to use for the smaller project, we'll use that for the larger project only, and project is divided into different modules. So if your project has 3 domains, so business application, customer application, staff applications, like that, if you have multiple applications to bind or bundle together, then we create how many packages? 3 packages. So all that can be created under that struts tag only in the package tag. So it stores the associated, means its respective actions need to be written inside those packages. What is a package tag? What are the attributes that you use in the package tag? So this is the attribute name, extends, abstract, namespace. But here in this example, we have only used the name and extends, package name and extends. These two we have used, but here we also have abstract. What abstract means? If marked to, the package is not available for the end user consumption. Namespace, unique namespace for the actions. Okay, unique namespace has to be given. Constant tag along with the name value attributes should be used to override the following properties. Okay, default properties normally we give where you write the extent, or if you want to change that, we can use this constant tag. And mode, it is always set to struts.div mode property. Okay, so this property allows to see more debug messages in the log file, whatever the messages you wanted to display while debugging. So those messages can be retrieved by using this struts.div mode property. So that is why we have given there. So we define action tags. Action has to be given inside the package tag. So corresponds every URL we want to access, and we define the class with execute method. So this execute method is used to define that and will be accessed anywhere with that URL. And results determine what gets returned to the browser. So results means what? Obviously the output. So once your struts is done, the strut configuration file will go to your result tag where it will be taking the input of the .jsp file, which is the output file. So that is configured with the result tag, and results have optional name and type attributes, and the default name is success. So if you see here, we have given default tag result, name is success only. We did not change anything. So normally we give success here for the output that you wanted to display, and here the file that is being given, or the logic that is written for giving the output. So that program we are giving here as a value. That's about the result tag. So constant, struts tag, package tag, inside the package you are writing action tag, under the action you are writing result. Then struts.xml can go big over time. So breaking by its package is nothing but modularizing, and strut offers another way by using struts.xml, and you could split the file into multiple XML files and import them. So this is only the one file that we have discussed. Suppose if you wanted to give multiple configuration files, then you can do that with struts include. Include is a tag where you are giving the file name. So if you have multiple strut configuration files, this is the first configuration file, this is the second configuration file. Where these two are passed for the file attribute, and this attribute is written inside the include tag, and this is the root tag for the include tag. That's the use of include. And we are giving here doc type struts public. What is this public? Public means external file. So you know, sometimes the files can be imported implicitly and also explicitly. Implicitly means in the same file we will write. Explicitly means we are writing we are extracting the external files. So that external file names we are giving here using this public keyword. That's a keyword. Struts configuration file has view and model components. So MVC architecture we have discussed. Among that, in between there is a link between view and model in the projects. So these are the things. Struts config, there is a root node we will give. Form beans, this is a tag where you map your action form to the name and use this name as an alias for the action form throughout the configuration files, and even on your JSP files also you can use. Global forward means what? This section maps the page on your web app. Means we are giving that hierarchy, right? Web app, web INF and all. So the global forwards, this name, whatever the name you are using or giving it for global forward, that name is used everywhere. Okay. Then action mapping. It declares form handlers, how to handle the form, whether to submit, whether to reset, or whether to give the error messages. All such things can be controlled by using this action mapping. Controller means it configures struts internals, rarely used in practical situations. So struts internals, if you wanted to just control them, so is the controller. Plugin means any other properties like which contain prompts and error messages. If you want to give another plugins, like in the previous session I told you validator is a plugin. What validator will do? It will just use the JavaScript for doing the validation. So such things can be done using what? This plugin. Okay. So here is an example for that. Struts config. So this is all externally we are giving. So we are using public here. Strut config you are closing. This is a root tag, and you can write all form bean definitions. Means bean, Java beans, whatever you are using. So form beans can be written in between them with the attributes, name and type. So this is the type of form that you are going to give, where you are giving the name for that as login. Global forwards means whatever the here we have whatever the web app application, that page you wanted to access, so that web application can be accessed using that name. So that is a global forward. Action mapping is whatever the form action should be performed. Okay, whether to reset, cancel, everything. So that can be defined here using the action tag with path and type. This gives the path of the form that you are going to use, because we will be having multiple forms in a web application. So single application path can be given here. Forward name valid and its path. Again, forward name invalid, its path. We have different, if valid, we have to execute this JSP file. If it is invalid, you have to execute this JSP file. Means that form has to be redirected. So that is about action mapping. Action mapping will have action as a subtag. Again, controller definitions. Controller is used for writing controller definitions. So this is a shorthand type of closing tag. So which controller is having content type, debug, then local. Local, we are giving it as a true, maximum file size, debug, and what is the character set? For XML, we will give encoding as UTF-8. So that character set we are giving here. So no cache. If you don't want to store the data temporarily in the cache, we will give it as 2. That's about the strut configuration file. So in this session, we have discussed about various configuration files that are used to deploy your application in struts. Hope you all understood. Thank you all.